All right, hello everybody. This is Mr. Wilder, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about changes in supply. And something that causes change in supply are called supply shifters. Okay, really similar to the law of demand, where we had demand shifters. In this case, we have the law of supply and we have supply shifters. So let's talk about those. First of all, what is a change in supply? We know a change in supply is any change that alters the quantity supplied at every price. A shift in the supply curve is either goes to the right or to the left. So a shift moves it to the right or to the left, just like the demand shifters did. Let's take a look at that in action here on an actual graph. We're talking about the price of an ice cream cone, how that affects the supply curve. This is the original supply line. We're going to call that S. We have an increase in supply, so we're going to draw a new supply line. Since it's an increase, we know that that's going to be a shift to the right. There's the arrow going to the right. Here's our new supply curve. We'll label that S1. And then if we want to show a decrease in supply, draw the arrow going to the left, draw a new supply curve, that becomes S2. All right, a good way to remember the different supply shifters is to remember the acronym TIGERS. Okay, an acronym is where you take the first letter of every word and you kind of use that to help remember some phrase or some formula, or in this case, the 6 supply shifters. All right, so let's start with T. T stands for technology, I for international events and disasters, G for government intervention, E, expectations for future price changes, R, resource costs, and S, the number of sellers in the market. We'll go over each one of those in just a second. Let's start with technological advancements. All right. As technology advances, production becomes more efficient and the supply increases, or shifts to the right. A good example of that is a waitress who had to write down all the orders on a piece of paper. Now all of a sudden you have a computer that can take those orders much more quickly. The food comes out more quickly, so you can supply food more quickly. The supply is going to go up. Another example might be like using robots to weld cars in a car factory. Obviously, a robot can probably do it faster than a human if it's programmed to do that. It can definitely do it cheaper than a human can. You don't have to pay a robot anything, just the electricity it costs to run the robot, I guess. So because of that, a car manufacturer can supply more cars more efficiently at a cheaper price. So you're going to supply more. The I stands for international events and disasters. When international events like a war, a revolution, or a natural disaster occur, like a flood or a hurricane, tornadoes, things like that, this can cause the demand curve to shift to the left or to show a decrease in supply. Okay? I'm sorry, I said demand curve. I should have said supply curve. So this can cause a decrease in supply. And our graph over here shows that. All right. So how could a hurricane cause a decrease in the supply of a product? Well, obviously, a good example would be Hurricane Katrina, when that hurricane shut down a bunch of the oil platforms that were offshore, that were drilling for oil. We used that oil to make gasoline here in the United States. Well, a lot of those platforms had to be shut down or were destroyed by the hurricane. That caused a decrease in the supply of oil, which again led to a decrease in the supply of gasoline. So that became a problem. Also, there are obviously wars and revolutions that can cause decreases in supply. Any war that occurs in the Middle East, like the Iraq War, what's going on in Egypt right now, any place we get a lot of oil from, if that oil is not being produced because of the war or because those refineries are being attacked or the oil wells are being destroyed, well, that's going to change the supply of oil. The supply is going to go down. All right, the G in TIGER stands for government intervention. The government can intervene in different ways to cause supply to shift to the right or to the left. Some of the ways the government can do that is by putting taxes on products, fees, regulations, and subsidies. We'll talk about kind of the differences between those here in just a second. When a tax, a fee, or a regulation is imposed on the production of a good or service, the supply decreases or shifts to the left. Okay? It makes the product cost more money to supply for the producer. So they're going to produce less of it. When a subsidy is granted for producers of a good or service, the supply can increase. A subsidy is when you pay someone to produce more of a product. The government actually gives these people money to produce more of a product. We'll show an example of that in just a second. But you can see here how the supply shifts to the right. Okay, an example of a tax that would cause supply to shift to the left or decrease. If you put an import tax on Toyota Corollas, this so that if you make that tax higher, the profit per unit will decrease, okay, because the tax is making the Toyota Corolla cost more. And American manufacturers will not be able to afford to offer as many for sale because now it's costing them more to make the Toyota Corolla. All right. Another example of a shift to the right is a government subsidy. The example that I'm going to show you here is for dairy producers. Dairy farmers were given subsidies to produce more dairy products. Well, if you're a farmer and your government's going to give you money to produce more dairy products like milk and cheese and whatever else, cottage cheese, whatever, well, you're probably going to produce more of it because now it costs you less to make it and you can make more money off it. So the supply is going to go up. All right, our next supply shifter is called expectations of future price changes. And basically what this means is if producers expect the price of a good to rise in the future, then the immediate supply will decrease or shift to the left. And you can see our graph shows that there. This is similar to the demand shifter of expectations of price changes. Only in this case it's supply. So if producers expect the price of a good to decrease in the future, the immediate supply will increase or shift to the right. So basically what they're saying here, hey, if you're smart and you know that the price of a good is going to go up in the near future or even down the road a little ways, you're going to hold on to your product, whatever you make, and sell it when the price goes up. A good example of that here is Farmer Joe. He hears that the price of corn is going to increase next month. He's going to wait to sell his corn, therefore decreasing the immediate supply of corn. Farmer Joe's no dummy here. He knows that if he holds on to his corn and waits for that price to go up, he's going to make a bigger profit. Resource cost is the R in Tigers. And basically we know that resources include all the factors of production, land, labor, and capital. Sometimes those factors become more expensive. And because they become more expensive, it becomes more expensive for the supplier, whoever's producing the goods, to make those goods. So they're going to supply less of those goods because they're making less of a profit because of those factors of production going up in price. So here you see the supply going down. As the factors of production, land, labor, and capital become less expensive for the producer, so if they become cheaper, well then as a producer I want to produce more of my product because it's cheaper for me to make and I can make a bigger profit when I sell it because it didn't cost me as much to make it. So the supply is going to go up. That's a shift to the right. Some examples here. This is Don's Donut Shop. Don's landlord, where he makes his donuts, increases his rent. So one of the factors of his production went up, land, which increases Don's cost of production. Since it was more expensive to make a donut, the profit per unit earned decreased and the supply of Don's donuts falls. It costs him more to make the donuts, so he's not going to produce as many donuts as he did before. All right. Number of sellers in the market is another thing that can cause supply to shift. Anytime there's more firms or businesses in a market, the supply of the product is going to go up or increase. That just makes sense. If there's only one company making shoes and you add a second company that makes shoes, well, you just doubled the number of producers. So obviously supply is going to go up, shift to the right. When firms or businesses exit a market, go out of business, go bankrupt, or just decide not to be in that market anymore, well then the supply of the product will decrease, right? Because now there's less businesses making whatever that product is. That's going to be a shift to the left. An example would be if the Blaine City Council passed a law banning pizza from being sold within the city limits. Pizza producers would have to close or move. That's going to decrease the supply of pizza in Blaine. I hope my discussion of the supply shifters made sense to you. If you need more help with that, I would review this PowerPoint again. Also go back into the textbook and read through those different supply shifters. There's some good explanations in the grade book about that. And if you have more questions, you need to come see and talk to me. Have a good weekend. We'll see you later.